Hello, everyone. Welcome to day three, the final day of Alt Legal Connect. We are in this session, Market to Your Heart's Content, creating content to generate business. This session is sponsored by Phil Cox Business Development for IP attorneys. Need more help implementing these things, talk to Phil. My name is Bree Van Til. I am the Director of Education at Alt Legal. I'm your Master of Ceremonies for the next few hours anyway. Um, so I'm here again to make sure your experience is wonderful. So let me know how I can do that. All right. As always, this is Alt Legal Connect, and so I do need to remind you, we do have a code of conduct. Don't be a jerk. It's the last day. Don't get kicked out on the last day. I mean, don't get kicked out on any day, but you anyway, whatever. Um, so don't be rude, don't harass, just don't do the things. Okay. All right. So please note that we are not offering CLE credit for this session. California specifically prohibits CLE credit for sessions having to do with marketing or business development. However, some of you may be able to self-apply for credit if your state doesn't prohibit that. So we will be providing a uniform certificate of attendance, just not a California certificate of attendance. However, requirements are still the same. So need to hear the entire time, the entire 70 minutes. Make sure to write down the code against the CLE code because I'm not offering CLE credit for it, but it's a code to prove you were here. Uh, Make sure to write that down and put it in the survey that hopefully we'll remember to share in the chat at the end of the session. But if I forget, you will see that in the end of day recap emails. All right. So we're still a legal tech company. We're not a law firm. We're not giving you legal advice. And Kiana has great ideas and suggestions, but they're hers. They're not necessarily all legal suggestions. All right. So definitely use the chat, talk amongst yourselves. We'd love to see that. But if you have any questions for Kiana, please try to put question in front of that so that my team can get those over to her. All right, here we go. So now I'm super excited to welcome Kiana McGee. We've actually been working on trying to get this session for years now. Kiana is a trademark attorney at the McGee firm, aka Trademark My Stuff. Just a few years out of law school, Kiana has built a seven-figure law firm, and she's here to share with you some of the secrets that she attributes her success to. So listen up, you're going to learn a ton. Have a great time, and I will see you on the flip side.
Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, or yeah, it's still good morning where you guys are. I'm on the West Coast, so I am a couple of hours behind. I was just telling Bree this morning, I actually got on an hour early because apparently I just couldn't sleep and was so anxious to join this morning, and honestly was afraid that I was going to oversleep, and so. I joined an hour ago, ready to get this party started. So I hope your experience thus far has been amazing. I've enjoyed it, but I'm super honored and happy to join you all today and to go over a couple of things that I do and believe in my practice that's helped me with marketing, creating content, and the like. Our firm has grown tremendously over the years. We launched my firm. I graduated in 2018, and I launched the firm December of that same year and went into practice. And at first, it was general practice, and it took me about 2 or 3 months to figure out that trademark law was the specialty area for our firm. And so we used to go by the McGee Law Firm. And at that time, it was about April. We launched in December. In about April, we switched over to a full brand of Trademark My Stuff. And we have been Trademark My Stuff ever since. So we did our first seven-figure year in year two, and it's been a great time learning about business, about trademarks, obviously, clients, marketing, what people need to know, what things overwhelm them, but most of all, how to lure them in and attract them in the first place to try to give you the time of day. for our audience that we cater to, which is minority entrepreneurs. And a lot of them were not made aware from the beginning the importance of trademarking and protecting their IP. And so the education aspect of our work has been a huge component of what we offer. And it not only just builds trust with our community, but it also lets them know the importance of protecting something that you created and inherently creates a lane for us to serve them in the trademark area. So thank you so much for spending time with us today and joining me for this portion. I know there is a opportunity to ask questions. I try to be an open book as it relates to how we do what we've done. So please feel free to submit your questions throughout the presentation, and I will be able to try to answer them as best as I can as we move through the presentation. So let's get started. All right, so these are just an example. We're jumping right in with some previous campaigns, social media content creation campaigns that we've done that have gone off and connected with our audience instantly, that have generated a lot of business for us. The Chick-fil-A campaign, of course, we did not use the Chick-fil-A logo. I just put that on there to show you, if it wasn't obvious, what we were getting at with the sign. These are all photos of me. If you can't tell, I know I look different completely different in each one of these pictures. Don't worry. Same girl, different hair. This picture with the Chick-fil-A was a whole campaign where we used this cow-like dress that I had on and this poster board. I literally just put a poster board up in front of the green screen and excuse me, I apologize for the yawn, and begin shooting in a whole bunch of different poses with the poster board, and then use the Chick-fil-A font on the poster board to mimic the brand, but to also encourage people to trademark. So it was more of an educational campaign that we did to make to bring the need for protection to the forefront, but also use something that we knew our audience was familiar with, which would be eye-catching, that they could understand right off the bat, and not have to jump too deep into an explanation, but just as a visual, they knew instantly what we were referencing and why it was important. The Self-Made Madam C.J. Walker was a video that came out on Netflix, or a series that came out on Netflix a couple of years ago. We made some posts and newsletters about that series and the importance of IP protection, and the instances where trademarking the name came up in that series. Again, just to have some type of common ground to talk to our audience about the importance of trademarking, and to use some type of real life experiences of when that has come into play and how that can affect your brand as entrepreneurs. We service a lot of beauty industry and apparel clients, as well as coaches and service providers. But the beauty industry is a huge industry for us. And because this particular series was based on a beauty industry, and obviously a legend in the African-American community, there was no way we could ignore the opportunity to educate our audience on how IP came up in this series, and the importance of it legacy-wise for their brands as well. Don't Be Legally Blonde. Every female attorney in the last 15, 20 years has likely seen the movie Legally Blonde. And so we did a little webinar on Legally Blonde, or not the movie itself, but being legally blonde, i.e. not being aware of different contracts you should have in place, clauses or terms that should be on your website, how to communicate properly with people who are work for hire, how to get the release for photos that you're using, just common things, again, that creatives and our entrepreneurs are using, and encourage them to not be legally blonde so that they won't have these issues that can come with not being aware of what your obligations are. And one of the campaigns that really kicked off our content creation from the beginning was the Coming to America campaign. And this Coming to America, it actually, if you can see it in really small, it says Coming to Trademark America. It was one of our biggest campaigns. Again, knowing your audience is a huge portion of having success with creating content. Our audience, again, the minority-owned entrepreneurs, and all of us, I'm sure, have seen, in our audience that we're targeting, has seen the movie Coming to America. And because this movie has the play on McDowell's versus the actual McDonald's, it was a natural fit for us to cover this movie and use it as an educational tool to be able to teach our audience about trademarking again in that movie and where it came up in the movie itself. Just brand awareness overall, what things would and would not be successful if it were to actually be a real life restaurant or a real life product in regard to different products and businesses that were mentioned throughout that movie. So hopefully seeing a couple of these campaigns, and there's probably a dozen more where these came from in regard to what we've put out. We try to run at least 2 to 3 really bigger campaigns throughout the year. One, early summer, and then another one throughout the year, just to make sure. And I say bigger as in 2-3 week span. And then just to, again, connect with the audience, but make sure that there's something that pulls some type of emotional tug and give them something fun and educational. Because although this is our practice area, none of our clients are sitting around thinking about trademarks every single day. And so we have to find a way to keep it in front of their eyes, keep it something that they care about, keep it interesting, and keep the news about trademarks or the developments in our field important to them some type of way. And what I've found easy for our firm is to do it in a way that's relative to things that they already care about. All right. So I just wanted to show the successes that we've used or that we found in social media. We do have a quick question. It says, will you go over how to use other people's marks in your marketing? Seems dangerous. So again, in these examples for the Chick-fil-A, we didn't actually use the Chick-fil-A logo whatsoever. We used a font that we purchased online, and that was purchased properly. So that was fine. But again, we were using them as educational tools on trademarking themselves. We were not actually selling any product that was similar to the actual product that these brands are selling. For McDonald's versus McDowell's, again, using this as educational content, that's just showing the differences between McDonald's and McDowell's. I have not had any issues whatsoever of using creating these brands and recreating imagery as far as our graphics has been, going out. But I would definitely look into your state's code of ethics conduct to make sure, as far as marketing and branding, that you're not violating anything. But that is not something that we have the capacity to cover in depth today, just because everybody's rules of conduct. The ABA overall rules of conduct are the same, but for your specific state, I don't want to dabble too deep into that. Successes directly tied to social media for our firm. We've had the honor of representing several celebrities, a lot of influencers, but thousands literally of entrepreneurs across the country. And they are all so creative and so bright and have such a promising future. We have about 5 or 6 different brands that we currently represent that are currently in Target nationwide. And every visit to Target is just, I love Target. Obviously, I don't know anybody that doesn't, but all of those things, all of the brands that we represent have been a joy to work with and have truly just skyrocketed as far as their success is concerned. In regard to the trademarks being made, right now we do, some of them are made, I'm just going to go back really quick. These like the Chick-fil-A-ish type theme, I made those in Canva, which is a free platform that you can use. I don't know if I can type it in the chat and it get back to you for those who may not be aware. Canva is really, really simple. And even if you pay for the pro version on their website, I think it's $35 roughly a month, but it's super easy. And a lot of the graphics and a lot of the fonts and a lot of the free pictures and photos that you may want to use are already in their database that you can use there. So for example, again, that the Chick-fil-A-ish theme was made in Canva. The Madam CJ Walker whole campaign, not this image itself, but the campaign graphics were made in Canva. But the Coming to America and the Legally Blonde were made by an actual graphic designer. When you say campaign, do you mean social media posts, or do you do paid advertising with those really wonderful images? I appreciate it. So we do a campaign in both regards. So we'll post on social media, newsletters, emails, text alerts, but we also have paid ads that run as well. We haven't put any of these campaigns on an actual billboard, if that's what you mean, but we do run paid ads that run consistent with and at the same time frame that we're using this imagery, so that we can find our clients as well through the paid ads, or find new and potential clients through the paid ads as well. Hopefully that answers your question, but if you need something more in depth, please feel free to ask. In regard again to the successes tied to our social media, we have had several national and international speaking engagements. This fall, we have a speaking engagement in Hawaii that is fully paid for. We went to Cancun in March for a speaking engagement that was paid for the speaker fee, along with travel and lodging, all for entrepreneurs. And so it feels like a cheat code, honestly, when you're being booked to speak somewhere in a beautiful environment and a beautiful scenery, just to basically pitching our services to their entire audience. So it's a blessing. At the same time that you get to do things that you love, but it also opens the door for people to trust your personality and view you as an expert in your field and want to bring you on as a part of their event in the future as an asset and a resource to their audience as well. We've done a couple brand deals in regard to just amping up our own and my own personal social media account as an attorney, but also as a trusted source for the community that follows our account. So last time I checked, I believe my personal account has a little over 124,000 followers on social media, or on Instagram specifically. Our law firm account has a little over 24,000 followers. I believe it's 23 or 24,000 followers. And it goes to show that even your business account page can grow a significant following if the information you're providing is resourceful. The business page, I don't go live from the business page. There's not a person or personal photos that are posted on the business page whatsoever. It is a business page that provides, our trademark information and content that you'll see here that you've had a peek at already. But there isn't anything that's luring people back to have a human connection outside of just our business info again on our business page, but people are following it for the resources that are provided. So there is a way to grow your audience and and your reputation as far as your personal brand, along with your law firm as well. The next thing was just the freedom of working without having to code switch. It's Black History Month. I think we all know what code switching is, but as an African American female, and just being able to fully be myself in every room that I show up in unapologetically is a freedom that I wish all people had access to, and a freedom that all people could enjoy. I speak to my audience just like I'm speaking to you. I speak to our audience in the same tone of voice and vernacular as I do my own family. And it gives me the freedom to be able to connect with your audience and speak their language and speak the language that you would naturally speak without having to, feel as if you need to show up any differently in your work than you do in your everyday life. I think it makes, in my experience, it's made our clients feel a lot more confident and moving forward with our firm, to feel like they have someone that they can understand and that understands them without a bunch of legalese when possible. I know sometimes it's unavoidable when we're trying to explain the process and different things that are required with our work, but as much as possible, hoping to be relatable, honest and transparent without trying to appear too successful, or not successful, that's the wrong word, but too out of reach really with what they're speaking in terms of, and then them not being able to truly understand what's going on. The freedom of never being able to show, the freedom of not being able to never being afraid to show up as my most authentic self in every room. Again, things that I wouldn't trade for the world, that I truly enjoy. That's not always an option as an African American female in law. In regard to the history of advertising for attorneys, this is relatively a new concept. Honestly, this is 46 years young. It used to, for those who may not be aware, this was not something that we always had the benefit of being able to do. Marketing and advertising for attorneys was barred at one point of time. Obviously, just 46 years ago. That's within my mother's lifetime. I'm 36, so I barely missed it. But in regard to some of us, that there was a point in time during our lives where um, advertising wasn't an option, and that to me just sounds crazy to even believe. But understanding how new our industry is to advertising, I, it helps me to not beat myself up, and for other attorneys that I know to not beat themselves up about not being experts in how to do this and how to do it properly. There is not a lot of material on best methods of practice, or I see groups and coaching and programs that are popping up every day about different coaching groups or firms that will do your advertising for you, that are specifically for law firms. But all of these things are relatively new. Most of them are shooting in the dark because we again don't have a lot of history behind our industry and advertising. The main channels of advertising has always been billboards, television, newspapers, event sponsorships. Sometimes you'll see them on the back of the little T-ball shirts or sweatshirts or uniforms. But now that social media has come into play, we're seeing a lot more advertising that is relative specifically to ads, running ads on Facebook or Instagram, Google placement, many different options that weren't on the table 10, 15 years ago, nevertheless 40 or 50 years ago. But the barrier that's been removed is that most of the billboards that we see are, the law firms that are pulling in dozens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars a year. Personal injury attorneys, you see those billboards every 5 minutes on any expressway across America. And how do we compete with a budget that size? How do we, how do we get that attention when we don't necessarily have the same budgets that these bigger personal injury law firms have? We're working with trademarks, we're working with IP, a lot of us are working with small businesses, and that it just seems like a far-fetched idea. I will say again, I feel like social media has leveled the playing field in different avenues for connecting with clients. We did have a billboard. It was not on an expressway, and it was during our first year of practice. It was in the city of Detroit, and it was in downtown Detroit. And the billboard itself, maybe we only had it for 2 months, and I believe it cost us $800 at the time. And so it wasn't a billboard that was wildly expensive, but I don't know whether or not that billboard was even worth the money we spent on it, for the lack of better words. And that's not to say that it wasn't. I just was very new to what we were doing and just threw a billboard up there to get some traction. But I didn't create a way to tie back that billboard to our firm. So if we did get a sale, it wasn't like there was a promo code on the billboard that would say, use billboard promo code and you get 10% off, or something like that. So I would know that this billboard was where this person found out about us. It was just up. And because, again, there was no way of tracking, I had no way of knowing if this person came by way of that billboard or if it was something we did online. And what I enjoy most or a lot about advertising online is that I can always track how many clicks came from which ad, how many people viewed or shared the content that we put out, how far out did this go? Is there, codes that are being used specific to Google, or a specific email that we sent out, or where and how these people found us? So then we can be very strategic about incorporating more of what's working and less of what did not work. These next two slides, I see the time and I want to get to the good stuff, so I'm going to breeze through these statistics really quick. But most of them are just to let you know that basically social media is not going anywhere. Right now, I believe last year there was a statistic saying that the searches on TikTok are replacing the search bar on Google, and how prominent the search on TikTok has become for things that most people used to use for Google. And that's a little scary because somebody, even like myself, that loves social media, TikTok is not my favorite platform whatsoever. And so to hear that people are now going to TikTok as their place to search and get reliable, quote unquote, information, it's a little scary because it seems like there was a time when if you were Googled and you didn't show up, then you did not exist. I do not want TikTok to now take that place. And it's like we're doing all this work, and then now TikTok is the place where we all need to exist. I don't know if you've been on there recently, but it's a wild jungle. And so I would like to try to keep TikTok from taking over as the Google search bar. But nonetheless, if that's where we're headed, I want to be prepared. So 93% of internet users are on social media. Facebook is still the most used platform at all times. But I will want to put an asterisk there and saying, know where your audience is. If you're serving a certain demographic, they use Facebook more often. Even though they may have an account, they use Facebook more often than others. If your demographic is of a much younger group, whether they're 18 to 24, they probably are on TikTok. Instagram has a specific niche of people. Just go where your audience is and where you're getting the most bang for your buck, and don't feel like you need to be a professional content creator on every single platform to be able to get your message across. I do not create content specifically for Facebook or for TikTok whatsoever. 90% of our content that is created is for Instagram, and I will recycle things as I see fit on any other platform as just leftover material. But I do not create specifically for TikTok or for Facebook. I'll use majority of our content for Instagram because that's where our target audience is. That's where we're getting the most return for what we are putting out. And so that's where our focus is. Does that mean we completely ignore the other platforms? No, but I don't spend a significant amount of time there. Last year, we did create a couple of videos for YouTube as well, just because, again, videos are on the rise. And so if you do have the time to create them, they don't need to be anything fancy. All the videos I made right on my cell phone, and uploaded it to YouTube. So nothing super fancy at all. Do I use LinkedIn? My husband would be embarrassed for me to admit that I do not. I do have a LinkedIn account. It is active. It's beautifully crafted, but I am rarely on LinkedIn. Rarely on LinkedIn. Internet users are saying no to ads on social media, with more than 40% turning on the blockers. So in 2021, we all had that iPhone update, and it allowed us to have the option of blocking the cookies on our phones so that websites could no longer track us. In complete transparency, that really was a game changer in regard to the effectiveness of our social media ads, and not our social media campaigns in regard to engagement that we were receiving on the content that we were posting, but in regard to the successfulness of the tracking of the ads. Of course, people had to give permission to be tracked on your website for us to, follow them around, when that wasn't an issue before, and we were able to track any and everybody that we wanted to via the ads online. And once that was turned off, you can see a drastic difference. Nonetheless, even with that being said, right now we currently spend $1,500 a month in ads on social media, and we've always 3 times at minimum that return on the ads that we've spent. That being said, I also have an ad company that runs the ads for us. I do not run the ads myself on Facebook ads or, on Instagram or Google ads. I am not a whiz. I like what I do, which just trademarks and being creative in that lane. But as far as the metrics and the ads and the coding and all that goes into running ads, I'm not your person, so I don't want to present myself as if I am, but I will say that it is definitely worth it, and I've never not received the return on the money spent for our ads. We'll go ahead to the next slide. So this slide here is going to talk. This was just to leave some space, and I'm not sure if they provided these to you in advance, but if not, please feel free. I wanted this to be an option to write things into each square if you needed to. And this is just my internal 10 sales commandments that I talk to our team about, our creative team. in our intake team, as well as our graphic designers, about how we present ourselves online and to our clients for the most return. These are not something that you're going to find in somebody's book. These are all things that I have created ourselves, and a 10 sales commandment that I go by. Like Bree said at the beginning, these are not stamped and endorsed by Alt Legal. Please check again with your own state for code of conducts. All the disclaimers, insert them here and before and at the end. Okay. First one is a big one. Is storytelling has now comes second to story making. Do I have any? Going over to a question, do I have any tips for finding a company to run the ads for you as far as what to look for? I'll tell you, the company that we use is Conversion Giant. Conversion Giant is the company that I currently use. And again, they're running the ads to ensure that we can convert clients. There's another company called Strategies 360. I have tried them as well. They were great. I really went, the only reason why we've switched companies over the years has really just been due to communication. All of them have been great. But because I don't know the intricacies of what they do, I wish I did. I couldn't tell you who was better. I really went based off of price. But how do you pick speaker engagements? I have done some local and they haven't been as successful as I would like. A lot of it for me is based on who will be there. Is this their first event? And how many people do they expect? Do they have a budget to be able to pay for me to come? If it's going to cost me more to be there, I won't go. And I mean that with all sincerity, or no disrespect to the person who's hosting it. I try to be as generous and give them other referrals for other people who can possibly speak in my place if I have to turn it down. But if I have a fee, whether it's just covering travel and lodging, if it's somewhere local, just some type of flat nominal minimal fee for the time, if they're more than willing to pay for that, or can afford to pay for that, that may tell me all I need to know. Or if this is again their first event. And a lot of things that have let me know whether or not this is going to be a good event or not has really been their intent and the way that they reached out in the first place. So if I get an email that's just a couple sentences long and it's like, hey, I'm going to have an event in April and I want you to come speak to our audience. Can you tell me, will you be able to come? Or, something really bland, not really put together professional with a pitch deck or a graphic or an invite or a full invitation. That alone may tell me that this might not be as organized as I want it to be. And my audience, the conversion may not be there. And so for me, that will tell me a lot right out the gate of how the introduction was made. If this is their first year, how many attendees that they expect to be there, and if they're able or willing to pay for the time. If they're not willing or able to pay for the time, and this is their first event, and they're really just hoping to capitalize on the audience that I've grown so that I can promote their event, that likely won't benefit me whatsoever. So I'll turn that down and then offer some other options of people who may not have a flat fee, or someone that might be local to them that might be willing to come speak in my place. Storytelling had been the prominent option for brands over the last 10, 15 years. Even if you watch Shark Tank, they're like, what's your story? They want every company and every brand to have a story to tell because people just love stories. Because of social media, story making has taken precedence over storytelling. And what I mean by that is to say that taking people along for the journey has become the more effective route for your marketing than just telling them your story. Oh, I went to law school and this happened and I became a trademark lawyer and, happily ever after. No one cares. No one cares why we went to law school, to be honest. We don't have this, heart-wrenching story about saving people who were wrongly convicted. That's not our industry. Nobody cares. It's really hard to make trademarks sexy. And so to do so, bringing people along for the story of whatever, if it's behind the scenes of your everyday life, if it's behind the scenes of a brand from from the start to launch, or from the start to shelves in store, from prototypes, whatever it can be, if whatever you're doing or working on behind the scenes, and being able to draw your audience in so that they can go along for the story with you. If they can feel like they were making the story with you by just being able to view and watch from the sidelines, is a more powerful way to bring them along versus telling them about what happened after it's all said and done. If you're opening up a new office, if you're going through a rebrand, all of those things are things that you can take them along for the story for. You can do the little polls on your Instagram story saying, which one should be our new color palette? Which one do you think is our new color palette for our new brand? The day that you go take your new headshots, take them along for the ride on the way there. Tell them like, hey, we're on our way to take our new firm headshots, whatever it is. And then once you get that finished product, be sure to circle back and share that with them too, because you're taking them along again for the story making process, and not just telling them at the end how it went, or just posting the video or the finished product. It makes more of a connection, and it allows them to feel like they were a part of what you have built. Question: how do you attract paid speaking engagements? Is it purely through social media? It is. I do not solicit for paid speaking engagements whatsoever. I don't have a PR team or anything like that. Anything that's ever come to me has come by way of someone reaching out to me directly, not myself going to find engagements to speak at. I do think that your reputation online will precede you in every way. And so creating a brand for yourself along with your firm is equally as important. There used to be a slide, which I believe this may be talked about on our presentation today, but the importance of positioning your results as what keeps people, and not just yourself as the star. What I do and the success of what we do is what brings our clients back, but my personal brand can come second to that. And I think if you position yourself the same, people will naturally be attracted to wanting to have you in the room to speak about the knowledge and the results and how great you are at what you do. And then your own personal brand being attractive as well. Frequency breeds trust. Even if no one's on the live stream but you, continue to show up. Jump on there every week, every month, however you want your schedule to be. Let it be consistent and continue to show up. Even if, again, no one is there and it feels like you feel like you're talking to yourself, you'll only have to do it for 30, 45 seconds. Give a couple of tips, jump off. You've created the content. It can live there forever. You can share it on several platforms, but do it. Continue to show up and develop that trust with people. If I see one post from you from January of 2017, and then your next post is from April of 2021, and then your next post is from December 31st of 2022, there's no consistency there, which tells me that you're inconsistent overall. And as a client, I may assume that that's the way your practice runs, when it's really not. Maybe I'm just not, aware of the tips and tricks of Instagram or Facebook. So it's not my area, so I shy away from it. You definitely want to be more consistent with your posts that will breed trust with your audience. I'll speed this up because of time. Make them the hero and you be their sidekick. I always say, it's important in our branding and in our marketing to not position yourself as the hero. Don't position your firm as everything and all that they've ever dreamed of, and that you're coming in to be their knight in shining armor. You're not coming in to be their knight in shining armor. Instead, you're coming in as Robin. They are Batman. You are coming in as Kelly. They are Michelle. Position them to say, I am here to further the mission that you are on. You keep going. You keep building that business. We're going to be behind the scenes making sure it all doesn't fall apart. We're going to be behind the scenes blocking and tackling. We're going to be behind the scenes making sure that all of your IP is covered, all of your contracts are in place, so that you can focus on the thing that brings in the money. You want to make sure that, again, that we are positioning ourselves as being here to forward and push the motive and the mission of the entrepreneur or the small business owner. We are not here to be the Beyonce of the show. You want to position them to feel like they are receiving princess or prince treatment. And so to do that, if we're positioning ourselves as if we are the prize and I have the golden ticket and I have what you need, I am the answer to all of your dreams, it doesn't make them feel like they're the king of the night or that they're Beyonce. It makes them feel like probably Michelle. We don't want that. We want to be Kelly, or we want to be Robin. We don't necessarily want to shoot for trying to be the Beyonce of the scene, or Batman. That's not our role. Lure their attention, don't steal it. If you've ever watched YouTube or any other show that has ads that just keep popping up throughout the time, when you're knee deep into something on YouTube and they ask a great question, as soon as the person goes to answer it, of course, it cuts to a question. I'm sorry, an ad that we don't want to see. That is stealing our attention. That ad is now stealing our attention, and I am automatically going to ignore it because we're instantly irritated. We don't want to see it. We were into what we were already watching. We don't appreciate the interruption. However, if you lure their attention instead of stealing their attention, they're more apt to actually pay attention to whatever it is you're talking about. How do I lure their attention? Luring their attention has to incorporate something that they are already enjoying or already have some type of affinity for. And that can be, again, a movie. It can be a quote. It can be a picture. It can be a video. It can be something that they're already interested in. It can be music, quote, whatever it is. You're using something that is common ground, which, again, for me, it was movies, it was food, it was concepts that we already are familiar with, bringing those to the forefront. And you're like, oh, hey, that's Chick-fil-A. Or, oh, hey, that's a movie that I've seen, or whatever it is. It doesn't have to be those cultural type iconic moments in your world, but whatever it is, you want to make sure you get those things in front of their eyes that lure their attention to you instead of stealing their attention like a pop-up ad that is just annoying and bound to be ignored. Did you get the hero sidekick analogy from Brand Story? They use this model and are a great place to get information for your firm. I have no idea who Brand Story is, so I did not, but I'm glad to hear that I'm not the only one using that. I read Batman and Robin. I read something about Batman and Robin about 4 years ago in a different branding book. It wasn't called Brand Story though. And that's what made me apply it to our everyday work ethic of just trying to position ourselves not as the hero. But I'm not familiar with Brand Story. In regard to trust is worth more than attention. I think that's self-explanatory. Once you build the trust with someone, they don't need that attention is always going to be secondary to making sure that you're a trustworthy brand. People scan instead of study. This is a fact as far as social media is concerned. It's so easy to just scroll really, really fast up and down. And so we want to make sure that your graphics are not flooded with information and they are easy on the eyes, because if it's not, it's much easier to scroll right past it because I'm only scanning information as it is. And so making sure if you can invest in a graphic designer, there's also graphic designers on Fiverr, or I think it's called Fiverr. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that properly. But between Fiverr, I believe that's what it's called, and Canva, you're able to, create for a very nominal price, be able to get good graphics made for a very minimal amount of money. Making sure that they're clean, making sure that you're only using one or two types of font. You're not having an overwhelming amount of information, but making things pretty on the eyes has much more of a chance of someone stopping and actually consuming the information instead of scrolling right past it. Because if it's not easy on the eyes, just like we do in everyday life, outside of a gory accident that we just all can't help but to stare at as we pass by it on the expressway, most things that aren't easy on the eyes we're not paying much attention to. Again, with the asterisk, because accidents we can't help but look. Show thyself, but sell thy results. I stand by this, even though I am on social media every single day. I stand by our results more than anything, and more so than them trying to pitch them to fall in love with who I am. In the days of social media, and especially in the day of everyone having an opinion, everyone showing and telling what their opinion is, Everyone having a thought about everything under the sun, from Joe Biden to Beyonce to the Oscars to soccer tournaments, whatever it is, you're bound to say something that someone doesn't like at some point in time on social media. You're bound to. And so if you are always pitching yourself instead of your results, the moment that they disagree with something that you've said, the opinion that you've expressed, the your position on a certain matter, especially if it's political, if you dare say anything political online, they're gonna completely be over you. They're not gonna use your services. They're gonna find someone else because you've made them mad, because you said LeBron was the best player of all time, and their dad played basketball with Michael Jordan in 1993. And so now I'm going to find a new law firm and I'm taking my little 2 copyrights with me. Happens all the time. So instead of doing that, instead of allowing people to get upset with one thing or 2 things that you've said online that maybe they didn't necessarily agree with, be sure to position yourself and bank all of your marketing on the results that you give and not the person that you are as a priority. Again, I've developed my personal brand as well as our professional brand. But if I'm going to sell something, if I'm going to talk about something consistently, it's going to be the results that I provide, not necessarily how great I am as a person, and whether I think I am or not, it's irrelevant to our clients. It's going to be the results that I know that our law firm provides and what we do. And so we recently started posting every month how many registered brands we registered the month before. So yesterday or the day before, we posted at the beginning of this week how many brands we registered for January. And it's just a pretty little flyer that we put up on Instagram and on TikTok and on our newsletter that says in the month of January, we registered 82 brands. Your brand could be next. Start your trademark process today. And at the beginning of March, we'll do the same graphic with a new number for how many brands we registered for the month of February. This, again, is going to continue to create content where people can see the numbers. They can see that we know what we're doing. We know what we say, what we're telling them that we're good at. Here's the proof that we are actually good at that. We posted a graphic last fall that showed the overall numbers for the entire year up until, I believe it was September when we posted the graphic. So every month of how many registrations we had done for that month, and then with a list of the names of the brands that were detailed in that number, so that they can go in and you look them up in USPTO themselves to see that we're not just pulling numbers out of the sky. These are our real results, and we're pitching and selling our results more so than we're pitching and selling who we are as a person, because we're bound to say something that someone doesn't like at some point. However, what you can never take away, whether or not you love Michael Jordan or LeBron James better, is the fact that if you know that we're the best, you're not going to want to skip on that and go with someone else. If you're new to trademarks and don't have results to show, is it just educational material and presentations to get us started? You say just, and you probably didn't mean just the way I took it, but that is an amazing place to start. If you don't have the results, that is still an amazing place to start. The more information that you provide, the better, because they're going to view you as a resource. And it can be information that you assume everybody knows because you know it, but they don't. Even if, again, it's just the simple facts of what's the difference between an LLC and operating as a sole proprietor. Little nuances that, again, we all know because it's our everyday work, are things that other people are not aware of. And they're going to, again, start viewing you as an expert because they didn't know that information. So start there. List of things that you should always copyright. List of things, or what's the difference between a copyright and a trademark. Do not assume that your audience knows these things, because we've been at it for 4 years and we get the same calls every day with people asking us these same basic questions, and we feel like we beat this content with a horse, beat this horse with a stick 1,000 times, and it never stops. Last 2 or 3 things really quick. Says online ads are the most ignored ads in history. It is true, but how dirt cheap they are. And because you can for those who have not turned their blockers on, it does help for them to repeatedly see you and have you pop up as a frame of mind. And if someone visits our website today and then they go on Facebook tomorrow and they see one of our educational videos that pops up in their stream, again, it makes us appear as if like, oh, this girl is everywhere. Maybe this wild girl really actually knows what she's talking about. Let me give it a listen. Let me see what she's talking about. And maybe if they only listen to 5 seconds of what they're talking about, that's okay. When they go over to TikTok or when they go over to social media, then they're going to run into another ad of us talking about something else. And so for some, it might be like, okay, this is annoying. Stop following me, but then their majority of the people are just going to take that as you being the same professional that everyone else is, and are the same, if not better, of a professional than everyone else is, because they're getting all of this free content from you online that constantly is showing up, and it's keeping you top of mind in regard to their protection needs. It's the question has, do you ask your client for permission to announce on social media that you got their mark registered? Majority of our clients, that's never been an issue whatsoever. We do ask, but it's all in a canned email that we send them when we first notify them that it's registered to begin with. We also have a presentation folder. I thought I may have had one that I could grab really quickly for you, but I don't. But there's a presentation folder that we send out the actual registration to them. And it has, it's a glossy folder that says your trademark registration certificate has arrived. When they've already shared things on social media as well, we also, take that as a hint that they're, good to go when they've shared it too. But always asking to get that safe, heads up from them that it's okay is always the safest option. When you look at the content that we did post before, it'll only show, even if it says we registered 90 brands that month, obviously that little list is only going to be able to show 10 or 12. So we'll go with the safest ones that responded fastest. And a lot of them also appreciate the publicity. They appreciate being able to get a little, because a lot of times we'll tag most of them if we have their social media handle. We'll tag some of them in our stories as well. So being able to get the free tag or the free promotion as well, and cross marketing with our audience is also helpful. Using the sales page framework, there is a sales page framework. You can Google one. There's hundreds of them, but it addresses the issue that the person has and walks you through the narrative on how to structure your sales page so that you are getting a yes consistently. And then again, pointing out their pain points over and over again until they finally just drown out and just admit, I need this, and this is the person I need to go through. They're showing credible referrals. They're showing credible testimonials. Testimonials from other people who have used them. All of the questions about do I need this have been answered. And it walks you through how to formulate your sales page. Again, you can Google a sales page framework and make sure your website has one. The price is the spouse of your marketing. Okay, let's talk about pricing. All right. Several attorneys, you can grab a handful of attorneys, and we're all trademark attorneys, and all of us charge different rates for different services. Some based on experience, some because their coach told them to double their prices, but they don't have any experience. Some because it sounded great. Some because I was started out and this is what such and such charge, so that's what I charge. Some because I asked in the group and this seemed to be about the middle. The rationale for the amount that we charge runs a wide spectrum from high end to the low end. And especially when LegalZoom is on the table and all these other engine type service providers are also on the table, we can hear all the complaints about pricing, whether too high or too low, till we're blue in the face. But at the end of the day, it is my belief that you can charge however much you want as long as your marketing supports what your price point is. If you have no marketing whatsoever, but you're operating like Rolls-Royce, I've never seen a Rolls-Royce commercial, but yet their cars are of a certain caliber. Only certain people can afford it. All of that is going on. They can do that. I don't think any of us have the Rolls-Royce sauce just yet. No offense to any of you. You might. I don't know. But for the most part, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Go ahead.
No,
Oh, okay.
definitely. I didn't want to interrupt you.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't know if I was already over and my clock was
No,
wrong
you're not
again.
over. It is time for the code if we're at a
Yep.
pausing. Okay. Remember, we are not offering CLE credit for this session, but in case your state will allow you to self-apply, please jot down this code. The code is the number 1, the word posted, as in you posted on social media 8 times today. So 1, posted 8. Don't actually post 8 times on social media in a day. Kiana will tell you, spread that out. Spread it out. If you write 8 posts, awesome. Spread them out. Okay. 1 posted 8. Okay. Kiana, we have about 15 more minutes, including Q&A time.
Okay, I'll rush this out in 5 minutes and then open up for Q&A. Strategies for testimonials. What I did was I sent out on our newsletter a $100 gift card for Target. If you left us a Google review, an honest Google review, had to be a client, obviously, to leave a Google review. And the reviews that we got were amazing. And most of them were, pointing out different salespeople or different people on our team specifically that they talked to. So it helped with people calling in to know, ask for Donna, or Donna help me with this, or Sabrina help me with that. That's helped me. And it was just a giveaway. So obviously everyone that left a review, only one person won, not every single one of them, but it helped us get, some feedback on how we were doing. Long story short, with number 10, make sure that your marketing and your advertising mirrors the price that you want to charge. So if you want to charge high rates in the comparison to others, make sure that the advertising and marketing matches what you're putting out. Don't put out ads that are pasted images together, or terrible imagery, and then post some or charge $5,000-$6,000 and wonder why people are having a hard time paying you for the services, because they don't see any quality ads or quality content in general that amounts to the price point that you're at. And that goes for content as well as experience. So that's that. I will run through this, Breeze. I believe you'll have access to this. I hope so. If not, please feel free to contact me and we can go. I can get this image to you. This is a money making marketing campaign. Excuse the typo. I apologize. Bree, it's not Bree's fault. I sent this to Bree at the last minute. I didn't catch it before I sent it over to her. So this is probably not the only one, but please ignore it for now. The 4 steps that I go through when creating a campaign. First, deciding what's the purpose of the campaign. Is it to increase brand awareness, increase my subscribers? Do I want them to buy a particular service? Is there a call to action? Do I want them to subscribe? Do I want them to leave a review? Do I want them to call a friend or refer someone to us? What's the purpose of what we're doing? Determining that first lets us know how we're going to go about the next 3 steps. Gathering information that triggers emotion. That is the biggest way to make yourself memorable. Thank you, Bree. I appreciate it. Making yourself memorable is triggering some type of emotion. If you're not triggering emotion, the chances of someone remembering you is going to be slim to none. The 2 strongest emotions to trigger for someone to remember who you are or their experience with you is either happiness, laughter, or pain. I wouldn't recommend causing anyone any pain. So the only other option at that point is either triggering some type of laughter or happiness. We do that by, again, trying to find common ground, some type of common cultural experience, movies, memes, music, whatever it is that we can find that's relatable at the time that causes people to be happy, jokes, series, fun facts, whatever it is that can breed some type of, humor is such a strong tool. Really quickly, I watched a masterclass on the woman who invented Spanx. And she said that she actually went and took a whole stand-up improv class because she wanted to help incorporate humor into her marketing, and it attributed so much to their success as a brand of that just being their brand voice. I can't say I'm going all the way to the point of taking a stand-up class. Nonetheless, it shows the power of humor in your brand. So gather moments that will trigger some type of emotion, whether they're memes, reels, stories, movies, shows, songs, whatever it is. You want to make a collection of those. This is at least what we do. Make a collection of those that relate back to the content that you're going to put out. Is it a theme for Legally Blonde? Is it a theme around contract mistakes? Is it a theme around partnerships that went bad? You can find different relationships or business partnerships that went bad in movies, or reels, or in real life examples, and gather all of those moments. And then I calendar it all. Will this campaign last 2 weeks? Is it going to be centered around Valentine's Day? Is this a Black Friday campaign? How long do you want this to go? When do you want to post? Do you want to post twice a day? Do you want to do a live stream every other day? How are you going to curate this? Do you want to partner with some people and shoot lives together, or go live together? Calendar your ideas so that you can know and see how much content you need. If you're going to do a month long worth of content, you're going to need a significant amount of content to gather. If you are only going to run it for 3 days, or if it's going to be surrounded around Valentine's Day and it's only going to be, content that you're going to put out right around there, that maybe that runs from the 10th through the 14th. That might be 5 or 6 pieces of content all 4 days about heartbreak of losing your brand because you failed to protect it, or whatever the concept is called. But you'll want to be able to see it on paper and then story it out for how it will roll out to your audience. Have some type of buildup where you can have a image that you post to say, turn on your notifications to learn about the importance of trademarking through the 10th through the 14th, so that you'll be notified, blah, blah, blah. And then when those days come, start rolling out your content so that they can engage and see what you have to roll out to them. Showing your face is so important. They want to see, and I don't mean your face as in selling who you are. I mean putting a face. The livelihood of seeing someone's eyeballs face to face. There's not, I can't emphasize enough the importance of being able to see somebody's face. So although graphics are great, if you have an assistant, if you need to record it so that you don't feel awkward talking to a whole bunch of strangers out in the universe, or whatever you have to do, you want to show a face. Again, it doesn't have to be your face. It can be your daughter's face talking about the importance of copywriting or trademarking or whatever the case may be. But you want to make sure that there's a face being shown. There's a human element and there's a connectivity element that cannot be stressed enough as far as what that connection does to the person on the other side, that just simple graphics will never do. So the more that you can show up and show your face, whether it's in person, on lives, on recorded videos, or even just photos of them seeing a face on a photo, being able to place that human element into your brand will help significantly as well. Again, not positioning yourself as Beyonce, but instead at least letting them know that there is a human person behind this somewhere. Hopefully that all made sense. I wanted to go much deeper. I know we ran out of time, but I definitely want to answer any additional questions that we have rolling in, whether it's about our content or anything. Again, these next few slides, again, just breaks these down into a little bit more deeper. Bree said we had 10 minutes, so I'll just go back a little bit. But again, these next couple of ones, I took a deeper dive on the first one thinking we didn't have as much time. But these next couple of slides just go into a deeper look of how you want to determine what you want your campaign to be. Do you want to have it a fun, vibrant vibe? Do you want it to be do you want to keep a professional tone at all times? Do you want to be known as the king of copywriting? What do you want your brand voice to look like? If you want it to be funny, then great, that's fine. You have to know exactly, again, what you're going in for and what your goal is from the very beginning, so that it will be clear and not confusing. Gathering the things that speak to you. Again, it can be reels, it can be anything. And I also I don't have a fear of looking unprofessional, if you can't tell. I don't have the fear of what are people going to think about my content. I don't have the fear of failing. I don't have that gene. So take this all with a grain of salt, that I know some of you may struggle with that. And that's not a bad thing. I probably could use a dose of it, but I don't have it. And so naturally I will post reels. I may post movies. I may post shows, songs, jokes, tweets, anything that's relative to what I'm trying to teach, I could use it as an example. For example, Rihanna is performing at the Super Bowl, and you bet your bottom dollar I'm going to find a way to incorporate Rihanna's IP into my content before the end of the week and showing all of the IP that she has. I'm going to call it the rezone instead of the red zone. Get it? No? Okay. Well, I got it. You know what I mean? So anyway, just finding things and being unapologetic about stuffing this down their throat as much as possible. Of course, Brie got it. She is the pun queen. Could you speak a little bit more about what you found that didn't work well when you first started out? Honestly, there were a lot of times that I went live and no one was there but me. That still happens depending on the time of day that I'm going live, or depending on what I'm talking about. I might be the only one there. That's perfectly fine. I'm still going to create the content. I do think that when I first started my firm, I was in general practice. And so I was talking about everything. One day I was talking about divorces. The next day I was talking about trademarks. And then again, I was back to wills, estates, and trust, the following week. So narrowing down what I did obviously was helpful. And because we're all here, because we do trademarks, that shouldn't be an issue anymore, unless some of you are still in general practice as well. But that helped me narrow down what I'm going to talk about. Other things that didn't have the same or larger effect that I wanted to was just the rollout and anticipation of announcing what I was going to do. So if I was going to do a big project, or I had a webinar that I wanted to teach on a certain topic, I didn't roll it out in time enough for people to even find out about it. And so by the time we dropped it or announced it publicly, I'm like, oh, it's coming. This is Tuesday. And I'm like, oh, it's coming out Friday. Some people may not have been aware, or maybe they missed that first email, and you don't want to be annoying. So you send it out maybe once and then it drops and you don't get the response that you wanted. Don't be afraid to be annoying. They will either delete themselves off the subscription, or they'll mute your story for a couple of days, or they won't, and they'll just keep scrolling because they're too lazy to do either one of those options too. But either way, they'll be fine. They'll live. You're not killing anyone. You're not doing anything immoral. Send out the information. Be unapologetic about promoting the services that you render, because you're giving good stuff. You're giving great content, and don't be afraid about providing that content and providing that information and providing that resource. Some people might think you're overdoing it. And if they do, they're 9 times out of 10 not your ideal client anyway. They were never going to go with you anyway. Let them go on about their life, and you go on about your life and continue to promote your brand. This is your legacy we're talking about. This is your money that you're going to take home every day that we're talking about. So why be shy about that? I'm not. The campaign and putting it on the campaign and the calendar, I create my own holidays all the time. So I did a call-a-thon one time, and we made up a call-a-thon where if you had questions about trademarks, if you had questions about when you should trademark, is your brand ready to trademark? Did you file a trademark on your own and you need help getting it back in good standing? Any questions that you had, we had scheduled and created a call-a-thon, and I got all these old school black phones with the handheld ones, put them around the office, made the little signs that just said call now, and went live. Had some balloons up in the background. I maybe spent $200 making our office look like a call center. Maybe $200. And that's literally with the little phones and just some balloons and the little pre-made signs. Just to create a moment, manufacture a moment to have with your audience. You may look crazy to some. That is okay. I look great at the bank, in my opinion. And that's all that mattered to me. Okay. What are your thoughts on longer form content, books, 10-minute videos, all that? So long story short, I did write a book early in our practice, and it was a general book called Her Fundamental Rights, and her fundamental as in fun. Get it? Fun, rah, rah, ray. Get it? Okay. It's okay. Her Fundamental Rights. And it was basically, of course, Brie got it. It was basically a general practice type book where it just gave you nuggets to consider. Again, being sure to put a disclaimer at the beginning, middle, and end of everything you do to let people know that you are not their attorney. You're not giving them legal advice. Just some nuggets to chew on for educational and informational purposes. The ABA has a great disclaimer that I use all the time on majority of our stuff to let people know if you want this to be relative to what you have going on, you need to hire an attorney that can obviously look at your specific situation. So I did write a book, and it did great for that period of time. This was in 2019 when that book came out. I do not offer the book anymore. I haven't offered it in a very long time. I still have copies of it though, and it would probably be a good idea to take it to different events that we speak at, but I just don't because I have a little one and 3 kids, and taking them everywhere I go is enough. So if you write a book, we did sell over 300 copies of that book, and I think we priced it at like $15 at the time. But I did that very early in the practice. There is a website called 48hourbooks.com. You don't need a publisher. You don't need all these aesthetics that everyone makes it seem like you need. You can write a book. If you need an editor, they have those options. If you need someone to create a book cover for you, of course, those options are available. But if you don't have a larger budget, you can still get this done on a smaller budget. I was on a smaller budget in 2019. I did not have the success that we have now as far as the number of clients are concerned. 48hourbooks.com. You can upload the manuscript. They will do the settings for you on the inside, make sure it's all perfectly aligned, and in 48 hours have a book for you in hand. I'm done, Bree.
I hope you're not actually done. I mean, it's time for the presentation to be over, um, but I can't tell you um, how much people are loving what you've been saying.
Oh, I'm glad to
I
hear that. Of
mean,
course, I'm only talking
yeah,
to you in
yeah,
the chat, so I can't see anybody else.
yeah.
But
No,
I appreciate
you
knowing
don't see
that.
this, but make sure to check that out later. Um,
Okay.
So it is time for the end of the session, unfortunately. However, um, Kiana is going to join us for the post-session discussion, but let's give her 4 minutes to, take a break and breathe and get a drink of water, maybe take a bio break. Let's all do that. I will see you all in the post-session discussion at 12:15 Eastern time. So thank you so much, Kiana. It was absolutely wonderful.
Thank you
We
for
all
having
learned
me.
a ton.
Thank you for having me.
So thank you. Okay, here we go, guys. Take a break. I'll see you at 12:15.